Jerry Lewis names the gay actress of old Hollywood he dated in secret. Joseph Jerry Levitch was delivered into the world on March 16, 1926, in Newark, New Jersey, under a set of footlights that never seemed to dim. Both of his Russian, Jewish parents were steeped in show business. His father, Daniel "Danny" Levitch, trod the vaudeville circuit as a joke-telling song and dance man, while his mother, Rachel Brodsky Levitch, played piano and secretly ghost-wrote quirky little comedic skits for a local radio station. Jerry absorbed that atmosphere like oxygen. Legend has it that at 5 years old, he wandered on stage during one of his father's routines, belted out, "Brother, can you spare a dime?" in a voice too big for his frame, and brought the house down. By adolescence, he was hustling up pocket money by hauling a 78 RPM phonograph from club to club, lip-syncing popular crooner records while pantomiming exaggerated heartbreak. A primitive form of the modern music video that club owners adored because it required no orchestra. In July 1946, the teenage whirlwind crossed paths with Dino Paul Crachetti, better known as Dean Martin, at the Glass Hat in Midtown Manhattan. Martin's silky baritone and laid-back Ohio charm complemented Lewis's frenetic physicality like flint and steel. They ad-libbed a slapdash sketch one night when a singer canceled. The audience howled, and a manager in the back scribbled M&L book on a napkin. Within a year, they were headlining the Copacabana, pulling down $15,000 a week. Unthinkable money just after the war. Radio beckoned, then live television, and Hollywood followed suit. My Friend Irma, 1949, kicked off a string of hits that included At War with the Army, 1950, Sailor Beware, 1952, and Scared Stiff, 1953. Fan magazines dubbed them the Sultan of Silly, Lewis, and the Baron of Breezy Cool, Martin. By 1954, Variety calculated they were the highest-paid entertainers on Earth. Behind the laughter, however, creative friction simmered. Martin felt typecast as the straight man, while Lewis's relentless perfectionism ballooned rehearsal times. In a hotel room at the Astor in July 1956, they traded a final volley of insults. Dean allegedly snapped, "Without me, you're just another monkey with a checkbook," and the partnership dissolved. Their last public appearance together for 2 full decades was a bittersweet curtain call at the Copacabana, with fans in tears. Hollywood doubters predicted Lewis would wither without his stoic foil. Instead, he signed a jaw-dropping, record-setting deal with Paramount Pictures that granted him unprecedented autonomy: the right to write, direct, star, edit, and keep a generous slice of the profits. His solo debut, The Delicate Delinquent, 1957, proved profitable, but 1960's The Bellboy turned him into a bona fide auteur. Lewis shot the dialogue light farce on location at Miami's Fontainebleau Hotel while simultaneously performing his Vegas stage act at night. To juggle both, he rigged a closed-circuit video assist system that funneled the 35mm camera's images onto a monitor so he could review takes instantly, an invention still standard on sets worldwide. Then came The Nutty Professor, 1963, a candy-colored explosion of split identities that riffed on Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Lewis not only played the meek buck-toothed chemist Julius Kelp and the smarmy lounge lizard Buddy Love. He choreographed every sight gag, choreographing beakers that fizzed on cue, and a big band number staged like a science experiment gone atomic. Modern comedy giants from Jim Carrey to Eddie Murphy cite that film as scripture. Lewis's imaginative camera work, swiveling dollies, trick lenses, cartoon sound effects, pushed American slapstick into surreal territory long before Monty Python or Saturday Night Live. Across the Atlantic, critics greeted him not as a clown, but an artist. French New Wave directors devoured his films, dissecting camera angles the way monks parse scripture. Cahiers du Cinéma ran cover stories calling him an anarchic Buster Keaton armed with Technicolor. In 1984, the French government pinned the Légion d'honneur to his tux lapel. Journalists quipped that he was more Gallic than escargot. Yet Jerry's resume extended far beyond pratfalls. Starting in 1966, he stood beneath blazing Klieg lights every Labor Day weekend to host the Muscular Dystrophy Association telethon. For 21 hours straight, he cajoled, sang, sweated, and sobbed, coining the phrase Jerry's Kids. By the time he retired as host in 2011, the marathon broadcasts had collected more than $2.5 billion for neuromuscular research. Critics occasionally blasted the telethon as charity as spectacle, and disability rights activists bristled at pity-laden rhetoric. But for many families, Jerry was a lifeline who turned medical jargon into household conversation and lobbied Congress for NIH funding. As he matured, Lewis sought meatier screen roles. Martin Scorsese's pitch-black media satire, The King of Comedy, 1982, cast him as acerbic late-night host Jerry Langford, opposite Robert De Niro's deranged fan Rupert Pupkin. Gone were the elastic grimaces. Instead, Lewis wielded quiet menace, delivering a performance Pauline Kael likened to a smile made of razor blades. He popped up later in indie projects, Arizona Dream, Funny Bones, Max Rose, testing boundaries even in his 80s. Private life, public storms. While career triumphs mounted, the comic's personal narrative proved labyrinthine. On October 3, 1944, he wed singer Esther Patty Palmer in a tiny Newark synagogue after a whirlwind romance sparked when both performed on the same bill. She was a devout Catholic of Italian heritage, he an observant Jew. Priests and rabbis took turns counseling the couple, and gossip columnists labeled it a Romeo and Juliet showbiz special. Over the next 20 years, they welcomed 5 biological sons, Gary, Scott, Christopher, Anthony, and Joseph, and adopted a 6th, Ronald. Gary later fronted Gary Lewis and the Playboys, scoring the 1965 chart topper, This Diamond Ring. But domestic bliss was largely an illusion. Jerry worked 18-hour days, disappearing onto sets and casino stages. Patty handled diapers, homework, and a growing resentment. Jerry's appetite for companionship beyond matrimony was legendary. Confidential magazine hinted at liaisons with starlets ranging from vampy siren Anita Ekberg to emerging icon Marilyn Monroe. In a 2011 People interview, Lewis shrugged off extramarital escapades as part of the occupational hazard of being lonely on the road. One alleged relationship, long speculated but never confirmed, involved a celebrated actress who predominantly loved women. Jerry teased interviewers with cryptic descriptions. She was lion-hearted, smelled of lilac and gunpowder, and wore trousers better than any man in Hollywood. Classic film sleuths have floated 3 prime candidates: Tallulah Bankhead, the unabashedly bisexual Alabama grande dame who greeted crew members with, "Hello, darling, I'm pure as the driven slush." Marlene Dietrich, the Berlin-born genderbender who recorded cabaret ballads for Lewis's nightclub act and once told him, "My heart is not a prop." Barbara Stanwyck, press-shy yet rumored to have maintained long female partnerships behind the faux farmhouse walls of her Brentwood estate. Whoever she was, their clandestine connection unfolded during the studio era's draconian morality clauses, when homosexuality could tank careers overnight. Jerry reportedly provided a rare sanctuary where she could kick off her public mask and simply exhale. They dined in curtained bungalows, traded ribald jokes, and, whenever paparazzi lurked, exited through kitchen doors 2 minutes apart. Though the romance never achieved daylight, Lewis later confided to a friend, "If the world had been kinder, we might have changed ours together." The fractures in the Lewis-Palmer marriage deepened through the 1970s. Patty endured rumors splashed across tabloid covers, "Who is Jerry's mystery blonde?" and allegedly caught him handwriting love notes on monogrammed hotel stationery. In January 1980, she filed for divorce, citing mental cruelty and serial adultery. Their split finalized in September 1983, with Patty receiving a multi-million-dollar settlement, but no apology. The same year, Jerry said, "I do," again, this time to Sandy Pitnick, a statuesque North Carolina-trained ballerina who had landed a cameo in his comeback film, Hardly Working. Despite a 25-year age gap, the union proved surprisingly tranquil. They adopted a daughter, Danielle Sarah, in 1992. Jerry doted on her, pulling back from marathon work schedules to attend dance recitals and school plays. Not all offspring felt that warmth. His son Joseph struggled with substance dependence and died by overdose in 2009 at 45. Eldest son Gary publicly branded his father emotionally Kafkaesque. In interviews, he recalled childhood dinners where Jerry enforced silence so he could time his jokes to imaginary applause. Tensions exploded posthumously in 2017 when Jerry's will surfaced. Every son from his first marriage was disinherited intentionally and with full knowledge of the consequences, the document read. The estate, valued at roughly $50 million in residuals, intellectual property rights, and memorabilia, went exclusively to Sandy and Danielle. Legal analysts speculated that Jerry's decision stemmed from decades-old feuds, while fans grappled with the contradiction of the benevolent telethon host who refused financial solace to his own bloodline. Dean and Jerry. The encore nobody predicted for 20 years, the Martin Lewis schism seemed irrevocable. Then, on Labor Day 1976, Frank Sinatra orchestrated an on-air ambush during the MDA telethon. As Lewis gulped water between pleas for donations, Sinatra marched Dean onto stage. The audience shrieked. Jerry's jaw visibly quivered. The two men hugged, muttered inaudible quips. "You working?" "Only when I feel like it." And the telethon's pledge tally skyrocketed by several $million in minutes. Although they never fully rekindled their partnership, occasional phone calls thawed frost until Martin's 1995 death. Lewis later mused, "Dean and I were chemical. You can reinvent chemistry in a lab, but it's never as explosive as the first reaction." Misfired masterpiece. The Day the Clown Cried among cinephiles, Lewis's most whispered-about endeavor remains the unreleased 1972 drama, The Day the Clown Cried, in which he portrayed a German circus clown imprisoned in a Nazi camp who entertains Jewish children on their grim march toward the gas chambers. Production was riddled with legal wrangles over script rights and emotional toll. Crew members recalled Lewis bursting into tears between takes. When test screenings tanked, he locked the negative in a vault. In 2015, he donated an imperfect work print to the Library of Congress on the condition it remain unseen until 2025, ensuring his most audacious experiment would spark debate long after his passing. Twilight and finale. The clown's later years were a carousel of hospital stays and standing ovations. Decades of pratfalls left him with spinal stenosis. Cortisone swollen his frame, while diabetes eroded circulation. He endured 2 heart attacks, 1960 and 1982, and a quadruple bypass operation. Still, he toured universities, lecturing on filmcraft. Students gasped when the nonagenarian bounded onto classroom desks to demonstrate sight gags. In December 2012, he made a cross-country trek to promote a digital restoration of The Nutty Professor, quipping, "I finally look high definition without makeup." On August 20th, 2017, Jerry Lewis died quietly at home in Las Vegas, succumbing to end-stage cardiac disease complicated by peripheral arterial degeneration. He was 91. Per his wishes, his body was cremated in a private ceremony attended by immediate family and a lone violinist playing Smile. The Charlie Chaplin standard, Jerry considered his life's theme song. Social media blitzed with tributes. Jim Carrey hailed him as an atomic bomb of funny, while French President Emmanuel Macron tweeted, "La France pleure son clown préféré." The Muscular Dystrophy Association projected Jerry's image onto the Empire State Building in blue lights, each elevator bank spelling out, "Thanks, pal." Journalists pored over probate filings, dissecting the will that excluded 6 sons, yet generously endowed Sandy and Danielle. Some commentators argued that the comedian merely desired to shield his second family from protracted inheritance battles. Others contended it was final retribution for grievances never healed. Whatever the motive, the move underscored the contradictions of a man who could raise billions for strangers' children while struggling to hug his own. A legacy woven of laughter and paradox. Today, Jerry Lewis occupies a singular niche in entertainment history. Half clown, half innovator, simultaneously adored and controversial. He pioneered the auteur comedian model decades before Mel Brooks or Jordan Peele, invented tools still used by Marvel blockbusters, and bankrolled medical research that extended countless lives. Yet his biography is laced with thorny tangles, family estrangements, artistic hubris, and an unsolved mystery about the brave actress he loved in shadows. Perhaps his gravestone inscription, chosen by Sandy, captures that duality best. Beneath his name and birth-death dates lies a simple line from The Nutty Professor, delivered by Julius Kelp after shattering a beaker. "You might as well like yourself. Just think of all the time you're gonna have to spend with you." Even in absence, Jerry Lewis nudges us toward self-acceptance, warts, wonders, secrets, and all, reminding future generations that humor can be a life raft, a weapon, and occasionally a fragile confession made in the dark.